This developing story, it's new this afternoon. Qatar will stop its efforts to mediate a Gaza ceasefire deal between Hamas and Israel. Qatar officials saying this will likely help out again only if both sides show political willingness to reach a deal on the war in Gaza. And this new development comes as Qatar reportedly agreed to kick out Hamas from its country after a request from the United States. America has made repeated attempts for the militant group to accept a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Hamas officials saying these reports are, quote, baseless, a pressure tactic, and has no evidence. Negotiations have taken place in Qatar as Hamas's top leaders live in the country's capital. Well, joining us now to talk more is the senior fellow at Defense Priorities, retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
So this big news, Qatar suspending key mediation between Israel and Hamas. How much of a blow do you think this is to reaching a potential ceasefire?
Well, it certainly isn't going to help, and there's been a lot of truth to the fact that neither side has been willing to do what it takes to get a ceasefire. The Hamas has continued to have roadblocks and list things that they say that they don't want to have to make the concessions necessary to get. But then they've also said that they actually do want a ceasefire. On the other hand, you've had the United States put a lot of pressure on Israel to have at least a ceasefire, and they have resisted those as well, continuing to put up roadblocks that they know that the other side won't agree to. And it appears that a combination of Qatar just being tired of, being caught in the middle, and then apparently direct pressure from the United States has now ceased any talks on this. And that is definitely bad for the people of Israel, because that means the war is going to continue on with no even possibility of a ceasefire, much less an end. And it's even worse for the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, because now then the war is just going to continue on apace and there's not even a plan. So it's bad for everybody.
Yeah, meaning the humanitarian crisis continues. President Biden and President-elect Trump, we just learned this today. They're going to meet at the White House on Wednesday. They haven't seen each other since the debate that knocked Biden off the top of the ticket. As we start to piece together what a second term is going to look like for Trump, do you think Trump's going to bring in any new diplomats?
Well, for sure. So certainly he's going to do that. In fact, we've already seen it seemed like a lot of the famous figures would be coming back in, and a lot of people that were at the top of the Republican Party may be coming, but yet we haven't seen any major announcements so far. In fact, the only thing we have heard that is it's unlikely that Mike Pompeo is coming back, that Tom Cotton is apparently not going to be going into the Department of Defense like many people thought. And I frankly consider that good news. I think that President Trump needs to come in with some new, fresh blood, with some new ideas. Because he's going to have to certainly make a lot of changes. And I think that he's going to come in with an opportunity to really do some different things. And he's going to have really a new team to do that. So I'm looking forward to seeing who that turns out to be.
Yeah, because the world's on fire right now. Well, today, Iran is denying any involvement with an assassination plot to kill President-elect Trump. Do you think Trump, once he gets into office after Inauguration Day, is he going to retaliate against Iran? What would that look like?
Well, I mean, so far all we have is accusations, and frankly, it just rings a little off key to me, because typically when countries have assassins, they're some of their top personnel, and they typically, I mean, just being honest, they usually have this understanding that if they get caught, they're not gonna be surviving, and so the idea that these guys just admitted to what they were doing right away just seems a little. I can't say anything for sure, because I'm not in those conversations. It could be just the way they said, but it would be a little unusual for someone to just admit that they were sent to assassinate the president of the United States from Iran. But in any case, it's not something that you can just go in and launch, retaliatory strikes, because this place is already a big tinderbox and could explode. We may be waiting for Iran to strike back against Israel for the last round here. And so we have to navigate that. And I think it is in President Trump's best interest to keep this from exploding into war, not add more fuel to it.
Yeah, and then in Europe, you've got Trump saying that on day one, he's going to find a way to, in 24 hours, end the war between Ukraine and Russia. He hasn't said exactly how he's going to do it, but it's one of the things he's been saying along the campaign trail. Elon Musk taking part in a phone call between President-elect Trump and Ukraine's President Zelensky, some scratching their heads over this one. Why do you think Musk was part of that call, and what role could he play in the conflict going forward?
Well, from what I understand, the primary reason he was in there is because of his association with Starlink and how that was being used by the Ukraine side and how they wanted to use more of it, and they desired to have expanded some of that because some of that things had been coming on and off, and that has some utility, actually a lot of utility in their frontline fighting. But I think probably it's just part of Trump's unconventional way to do things that he wants to bring in somebody else that's going to be able to talk to Zelensky and I think moving him in a direction that he's what he's been saying. I can't imagine that Trump would do anything besides what he said he would do, which is to end the conflict because it is not winnable militarily and it's pointless. And I actually talked to somebody on his campaign, one of his senior foreign policy advisors, and they said Trump is going to try to stop the war as soon as possible to prevent any more loss of life and then try to negotiate an end from there.
Well, we're crossing our fingers that can happen. Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you so much for joining us on News Nation Now.
Thank you.
Have a great day.